Good evening, Vishwanath, and thank you to everyone who has joined us on Facebook and other channels, or who would get to see this conversation later. In light of the World Water Day on 22nd March, which is tomorrow, we are happy to engage on a conversation today about water management, lives, and livelihood. I'm Nidhi Batra, an architect and urban designer by training, with over 16 years of experience in working on dimensions of sustainable development, skills, and capacity building. I'm a fellow at Just Jobs Network, which is a global research organization finding evidence-based solutions to one of the most pressing challenges of our times, which is how to create more and better jobs. Just Jobs Network and Artyom are currently engaged in evaluating the nexus of sustainable water management, especially of the rural water commons, jobs, and skills. It is in light of this that I'm super thrilled to have with us Vishwanath Zekna. Vishwanath, welcome to this conversation. Many of you already know him. Vishwanath is a civil engineer and an urban planner by training. He teaches as an adjunct faculty in Azim Premji University, has over 35 years of experience in water sector with rainwater harvesting, water reuse, groundwater management, and ecological sanitation system. He's a renowned expert and one of the foremost voices on issues of water in India, and we're really glad that he could join us today. Vishwanath, thank you for coming today.
Oh, my pleasure, Nidhi. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks, Vishwanath. So as we were discussing, earlier, one of the key aspects that we're looking is rural water management and the stress, the rural water security, how our villages will become water secure. We all know that the demand is probably becoming double and we don't really have groundwater to pay for it. In fact, India is one of the countries which extracts maximum groundwater. So we're already probably in the ground zero, as we may say it. So in light of this, I would love to know what your understanding about rural groundwater management is. How should we see it? What are the lens of seeing it? And does it have any lens with jobs and skills per se? So one of the arguments that we're trying to say, and probably government schemes are also trying to say, that if there is community participation and sustainable community participation through livelihoods and jobs, there might be a possibility to ensure water security at the ground level. So from you, Vishwanath, we'd love to know, what do you understand by groundwater management? Who are the stakeholders? And is there a possibility to view it from the lens of jobs, livelihood, and skills?
Yeah, thanks, Nidhi. It's a pretty complex question, but let me try and answer it from the perspective of what my experience has been working in rural areas, especially around water. Right? So India is, as you pointed out rightly, a groundwater dependent civilization. We have the single largest number of bore wells and a huge exploitation of groundwater, a great deal of dependence on it, from our drinking water, for our agricultural water, for our industrial water, and even for our urban water use. Right? And so this has been characterized by a great deal of informality. They're not formal structures which are drilling these bore wells. They're not formal users. These are farmers, small and marginal farmers, large farmers who are using this water. There is the formal groundwater use for domestic water supply in rural areas, which is covered by the government, but a vast majority of it is informal. So informality characterizes groundwater use. Informality also characterizes the toilet operations, in the sense when the pits become full. Now there's a government service to emptying the pits, but a lot of the pit emptying services, for example, are dependent on the informal sector. Right? So that's a particular characteristic of it. From a water perspective, the challenge for us is, how do we treat the resource? Do we treat water as a state resource? Do we treat it as a private resource, which it implicitly is, because farmers are allowed to drill bore wells and draw as much water as they can? Or do we deal it as a community resource or a common pool resource, right? And for us, the current imagination is, let us try and deal with it as a common pool resource, while keeping the essential feature of it as a state resource in terms of drinking water security and giving water to people. But otherwise, can we push ourselves to reimagine water and the entire architecture to manage the water as a common pool resource? And that's one of the real biggest challenges that's going to confront us in the future.
So that perspective of looking at common pool resource, we know it comes with inherent challenges. And I would love to hear from you that who do you think are those stakeholders and how are they responding to that common pool resource really? So when you say private individuals are, digging wells or doing boring, they definitely don't have the perspective of looking at SCPR. Vis-a-vis state comes up with schemes like Jal Jeevan Mission or Atal Bhujal Yojana, which is trying to give the narrative of common pool resource, but are we being successful at it? And who is the common pool resource for? Who is the community really?
Yeah, so the lip service to community participation has had a long history in India. It takes a lot more than just lip service to be able to engage the community as part of the solution, which is sustainable, right? Because there are inherent power disequilibriums in society. There are inequities in terms of knowledge and skills that is prevalent in society. Those need to be built up. Those structures need to be built up, and they have to be fostered with policy and legislation too. For example, if a community works at reviving a lake or a water body, which recharges the groundwater, then the community should have first charge on the groundwater, and not somebody who has the muscle or the monies to drill a deep borewell and take away all the benefits of a common pool effort, right? So how do legislation, common pool resource, community involvement talk to each other? Needs a lot of architecting and a lot of work on the ground. So if it's okay with you, I could just show you a couple of examples and photographs as to how things are playing themselves out in the field and how perhaps we need to look at sustainability from a water perspective. Is that okay,
Yes.
Nidhi?
Please.
Okay. So I just sort of call it water management, lives and livelihoods. I'll bring in a bit of the urban example also, because it's a lot to learn from urban examples for our rural areas, and see how government policies and regulations can drive the informal sector and can drive towards common pool resources, and what the challenges could possibly be, right? So for example, in my city of Bangalore, since 2009, rainwater harvesting has been made mandated. Right? Every new house that comes up, every new building that comes up has to have a rainwater harvesting structure. And every old building, which is beyond a certain size, 60 feet by 40 feet in site area, they also have to do rainwater harvesting. There's also a bylaw which makes it mandatory to do metering in every house. You have to have a water meter in every house, or if you have a set of flats more than 3, let's say you have a ground plus 3 construction, then every flat should have a meter. And it's also mandatory to have automatic switch off pumps, right? So the state is itself not doing this thing, but it's then sending signals to society through legislation and through policy for you to do it, right? With a direction to localize water and its management, right? And so this was originally made mandatory in 2013, and then it's been again reinforced in 2020 with a slightly more detailed bylaw, which now says that for every square meter of roof area, you have to create something like 60 liters of storage or recharge. And the recharge is also a very important component, because recharge is defined as a recharge well, which is a minimum of 3 meters. Yeah. So what this means is that the traditional community of well diggers called the Manvadar community, who for 1,000 years have been digging wells all across India, an itinerant community, but who have lost their livelihoods to a large extent because of the advent of the bore wells, now find a job for themselves, right? They dig recharge wells. And you see Muniappa here, Ramakrishna, Shankar, all of them that you see here. What they're doing is they're reviving old open wells. They go to old open wells, clean it up, desalt it, disinfect it with potassium permanganate, and they dig something called recharge wells. And they make sure that the rooftop rainwater is pushed into the recharge well after filtering, which is a new skill they've picked up. Now, this is a government policy and bylaw, which is provided job opportunities to about 750 to 1,000 well diggers, right? They can do a lot more work. They still want more work, but at least the signal and the nudge has been sent for livelihood creation. Now, through policy, livelihoods are being generated, and through livelihoods, water security for the city is being generated. Because as the more you recharge the aquifers, the better the groundwater table will be, and more access people will have to groundwater. So this is some example of how they clean the wells, desalt it, and how they make sure that it becomes operational again. This is how they make recharge wells. A team of 4 or 5 go, dig a hole in the ground, typically 20 feet deep. Then they line it with precast concrete rings and put a safety grill on top and direct stormwater or rooftop rainwater into this recharge wells, right? Now, there's also employment for the ring makers, because all these new recharge wells are lined with precast concrete rings, and almost all the ring makers are in the informal sector. I mean, they just take a site of land and a mold, and they're able to pour concrete and make these precast rings. These rings have also become ubiquitous in our rural areas where the single pit toilet or the double pit toilet has been put in place under Swachh Bharat mission, right? So a mission and a project investment in Swachh Bharat mission has created this informal jobs for people with a particular skill set, very basic skill set, where they make precast concrete rings. Imagine close to 100 million such recharge wells would have been made and pits would have been made, and a lot of these ring makers would have got jobs, right? Then it creates jobs for plumbers. And so with a basic 2-day skill setting in for these plumbers on how to imagine rainwater harvesting systems, how to design something called a first drain separator and a filter, plumbers like Mohan here now have a regular job in putting in place rainwater harvesting systems. So about 1,000 plumbers have been trained by the Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology and the Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board in a 2-day training program, and a lot of new employment has been created for people like Mohan. Filter manufacturers, just because of the policy and the bylaw, more than 40 filters entered the market. These filters do a very good job of sieving out the dust and other organic particles from the rooftop rainwater and push it into the storage tank or to the recharge well. And by the market forces themselves, based on cost and performance, a lot of the sifting has been done, and some of the good filters remain in the market. So job creation in the rainwater harvesting sector. And so therefore, many houses have rainwater harvesting, thanks to the well diggers, thanks to the ring makers, thanks to the plumbers, and to the filter manufacturers like these two houses. Wastewater treatment plants have been made mandatory. For a set of flats, more than 20 in number, they have to have their own wastewater treatment plants, and they have to recycle their wastewater for informal use, which means there are more than 3,000 small wastewater treatment plants, and entrepreneurs like Vikas Brahmavar here, who not only invents wastewater treatment plants, but makes sure that the treated wastewater is of potable quality if you so want it, right? So this kind of innovations are also trading on, created by policies and bylaws. But the ecosystem needs a bit more support, right? So they have to figure out what are the challenges in terms of taxes, GST, other things, what other incentives could be needed, and what other skill upgradation could be needed so that more manufacturers are there. It's not only a question of installing these WWTPs, it's also a question of maintaining them and running them as part of operation and maintenance, which provides more jobs, right? And these wastewater, treated wastewater is cheaper than fresh water. It is actually a good ecological substitute and an environmental substitute. Look at urban lake renewal. Now, this is not driven so much by the state, but as much by the courts who have demanded that water bodies should be cleaned up. And if there you include the fishers as part of the livelihoods, the fishers have a stake in the lake. They keep it clean from the water hyacinth, as you can see here. And if it's included as part of the contract that they take place and they're supported fiscally to keep the water body free from macrophytes, they do a very good job of it. In turn, the water body is able to provide them a lot of fishes for livelihood. The city gets its proteins, the lake gets its fishes, and the lake gets to be kept clean as part of the livelihood mission, thanks to the focus on urban lakes. And then, of course, because of the fish, the bird biodiversity comes back, painted storks, pelicans, as you can see here, and the aquifer gets full, right? So just a single investment in cleaning up urban lakes, if imagined with livelihoods as the base, can do a big transformation of the whole ecosystem there, not only just social ecosystems, but also ecological ecosystems. Look at farmers who are on the periphery of small towns like Muniraju here and his family which is working on it. They pick up untreated wastewater, untreated, because many towns cannot afford wastewater treatment plants. They let out their sewage untreated. It may enter water bodies, but people like Muniraju pick this up, pump it into their fields, mulberry fields, mulberry which is non-edible, so therefore consumers are not threatened. They make to do with furrow irrigation, and these lovely mulberry fields are growing, shahtoot. From edible crops to mulberry, they moved, and vast landscapes of green are created. These mulberry is fed to the silkworms. The silkworms are reared by a particular category of people who make their livelihood of just silkworm rearing, right? And cocoon making, right? So this is a set of people who are given jobs thanks to Muniraju growing those mulberry leaves. These cocoons fetch a good price in the market. They're spun into yarn, providing more livelihoods for the yarn maker, and then they're spun into saris, right? Silk. So I call this shit to silk, but this is a livelihoods approach to treating wastewater, right? Now, do we have the imagination, the flexibility, and the dynamism to engage with this, make sure that the health risks are mitigated and the environmental risks are mitigated, practices are made safe, but livelihoods are protected and value chains added, right? So Muniraju then becomes a rich farmer. Similarly with honeysuckers, a lot of pit toilets and septic tanks have been built fecal sludge treatment plants are being built to treat them, but it's going to take some while before we build all the fecal sludge treatment plants. In the meantime, the pits are emptied and farmers are picking it up, composting it, called the Acharya method of composting, converting it to manure, using it to grow the best grapes and bananas, right? So again, sanitation in the rural sector can be linked to agriculture with livelihoods and a certain amount of skill set and a certain amount of health risk management for good composting. The last example that I want to give you, the landscape of India is full of water bodies. Every village has a water body. In the south, we call it the tank system. The tanks are water bodies, earthen berm thrown across a valley and water held there, right? So enter Asha. Now, this is a skill set. Asha runs a small organization. She's a community mobilizer. And she's able to tap into civil society funds, CSR funds, and bring it into the village. Asha enters the scene for the tank rehabilitation. What she does, as you see in the middle, is these feeder channels to the tank. Now, if they're kept clean and desilted by women who are given a daily wage, and these are Dalit women who are doing it, so they keep the tanks, the feeder channels to the tank clean, they desilt it, and when the rains come, the tanks get full. Not only do the women clean the feeder channels, they make sure that the waste weir is in repair, that the bunds are in repair, which hold back the tank, the waste weir overflows here, the sluice gates are in repair, and the distribution channels are in repair. This then creates jobs for the Nirugantis. The Nirugantis are traditional water distributors who take the responsibility of making sure that water is equitably distributed across the entire command area. Cultural festivals like Ganga Ma's worship is also rejuvenated because of the work that Asha does. And in turn, when the tanks are full, 2 crops of rice paddy can be grown in the command area. The women who did the cleaning of the feeder channels get twice the job, get about 100 days of work in the paddy fields, which they have helped to rehabilitate. Now, if the ecosystem is completed, responsibility is fixed so that the tank ecosystem continues to function regularly. Unlike in Narega, in Narega, you do the desilting, but the ownership of the tank is not generated. If that is done, just that next step, then it provides tremendous amount of livelihoods and employments, thanks to farming and agriculture, and farmers have a livelihood of themselves. And these lush green lands are a tourist delight. You cannot go to Bali, you can come to Kolar and see how beautiful the landscape looks like when the rice is ripe. And the groundwater table is full, right? And the groundwater is fed by the tank system, with this beautiful water heritage architecture also being revived in the farmer's field and giving drinking water security. As the Jal Jeevan Mission seeks to give 55 LPCD to individual homes, in addition, as a supplement, these wells will have good clean water. In case of repair of the pumps and motors and bore wells, people can go to these wells and draw water and draw sustenance and get livelihood security. All thanks to the kind of work that Asha does and Asha leads. Now, the skill of community mobilization, community organization, converting the tank, which is a common pool resource, and keeping it going is a very particular skill, which especially needs a lot of training to get going, right? It's not everybody who can become an Asha. And then it brings benefits, of course, in terms of livelihoods to the cattle grazer, to the non-landless also. How do you think along those lines? So some examples of how, if we reimagine our projects, if we work with the sector and understand the farmers, well diggers, and women community mobilizers, that perhaps we can make jobs sustainable.
This is brilliant. I mean, I've always loved your shit to silk farm example, but I love the groundwater one also, and what you showed the impact of one Asha, and the almost like a catalyst for the entire change. It's there in the whole process. I mean, my question here is, how do we sustain something like this? How do we support a village, right? Do we have instruments? Is it you who have gone there and taught that this is an integrated way of looking at water security and livelihoods? Or how is it possible to do this in multiple villages? How do we scale this kind of lens?
Yeah, so we need interlocutors, right? We have, some of us in the civil society sector have the privilege of a larger scale paradigm understanding and the ability to translate that to individual action. The Ashas of the world are tremendous knowledge bearers, have tremendous skill sets. They need support. They need a bit of financial support. They need a bit of administrative support for them to start to work. That is a job which a certain section of the people will have to provide, right? Whether it be civil society groups, or whether it be the government itself, the Gram Panchayats, and through various projects and schemes that they have to reach out to. But we must keep our eyes and ears open and make sure that we talk to the right people and motivate and work with these community leaders, those who have the initiative, to make it sustainable and to take things forward. It's not normal to imagine that a fisher or a group of fishers can be involved in a lake rejuvenation. lake rejuvenation is seen as something to be done with a JCB, which is a large-scale contract process, right? But the maintenance of the lake becomes a challenge. And if you then involve those whose livelihoods are at stake with the lake and who therefore have a reason to keep the lake clean and arm them with the powers to do that and the thinking and the ability to do that, then lakes have a better chance of being clean and maintained, right? So these are the kind of understandings and learnings we have to pick up from the ground and be very flexible and dynamic to work with.
And who does that? Like, for example, at the village level, there is this instrument of making the Gram Panchayat development plan. There's supposed to be a village water sanitation committee. We know that most often it doesn't have the capacity. There's some civil society organizations which are giving them the technical skills or hand-holding them for a certain period of time. But the moment the organization exits from the settlement, or even let's say they've trained, so within the scheme itself, now in Atal Bhujal, there are supposed to have a Bhujal Jankars in every village. Now this Bhujal Jankar is supposed to be an extension worker almost, right? Needs to know multiple skill sets in terms of giving guidance to the farmers, in terms of doing water quality mapping, monitoring, O&M, lots of skill sets in it. But who ensures that the knowledge that this one Bhujal Jankar has now gets translated into the Gram Panchayat development plan? And who ensures the sustainability of this person also then?
So it's not a challenge that cannot be overcome. Like the Village Water Sanitation Committee and under the Jal Jeevan Mission, there's a lot of training going on and a lot of workshops and knowledge building which is going on, right? Unfortunately, what happens when we learn large projects, when we run large projects, it gets templatized, right? And there's not enough flexibility given or local nuancing done. We'll have to figure a way of nuancing these training programs under the Jal Jeevan Mission or the Swachh Bharat Mission or the Bhujal Jankar Mission and seeing how it becomes more comprehensive. Asha, who I showed you, she's a Bhujal Jankar in a different sense, right? She understands what groundwater is, what the relationship with the tank is, and how the recharge occurs, and how the whole ecosystem works, right? So a Bhujal Jankar will also have to be a tank Jankar, will have to be Narega Jankar, will have to be agricultural soil Jankar, and a cattle Jankar, right? So it has to be comprehensive knowledge. So Asha runs a soil testing lab. She does this work with mobilizing community. She runs a soil testing lab for individual farmers and she makes a bit of her income from that, right? She also does training for Gram Panchayats in what is called organization development, and it's called Gram Panchayat organization development, in building the skill set of the Gram Panchayat members on how to draw up a plan, a water security plan, or a sanitation security plan, or health plan, things of that sort, right? So this cadre of Asha will have to be built up through all our programs, the JJM, the Atal Bhujal Yojana, the water security, the Swachh Bharat Mission, the plus. All these will have to converge at the Gram Panchayat level, and we'll have to keep fine-tuning our training programs and skill set to keep going. Nidhi, we had discussed this before. These Bhujal Jankars, the Asha workers, need a steady revenue stream. They need an income, right? A community work may not give them income, or it may give them a temporary income, but they do it for the larger good. Once a farmer's field has enough paddy and the farmer has enough groundwater and he's able to afford 2 crops and therefore has surplus income, then he's better able to invest in getting the expertise from these Bhujal Jankars to say, how should I use my well? How should I use my bore well? What should I do to recharge it? And how do I make it possible, right? Community should translate to private goods also, and the private goods should feed these knowledge providers and the service providers to keep them financially going. At all points of time, we must make sure that the financial sustainability of whatever we think through is carefully thought through from a market perspective, right? And then it should be kept going.
I think, yeah, that's very important, especially in water, we speak about demand-led management and supply-led management. In the demand-led management, this aspect of whether the market actually demands it, whether they'll pay for the services is not thought of. So many of our schemes are speaking of these community resource persons and putting a lot of weightage on it, and probably rightly so, because if we have to look at water as a CPR, then you need engagement of the community people. But in respect to how would that demand management happen, how would the revenue actually come is not right now, not there. I think this integrated lens is missing somehow.
It's a challenge in a poor economy where there are small and marginal farmers, where a lot of people are landless. How much is the right to life for water? How much of it should be free and should be given to people as a right to life? How much of it should be given as a right to livelihood? When does water become an economic good? And when should it be charged for it to be conservatively used or for value generation, right? And then how should that value generation be transferred to those who will make sure that the value generation lasts, like the Asha or the Bhojal Jankars, right? So it's a tricky business. It depends on local conditions, local economic conditions, local institutional conditions of farm, soil, water, scarcity, so on and so forth, and affordability of people, right? So there cannot be a one size fits all. We'll have to figure out what the decentralized approaches are. And that is really a challenge. As we talked, Nidhi, beforehand, a farmer who has a borewell on his land and is completely dependent on the borewell for irrigating his fields, makes sure that he takes his motor to the local repair wala, makes sure that the motor is rewired, rewinded, repaired, and brought back because it's a source of livelihood. The same farmer may not be paying the government for the electricity service, but he makes sure that he pays for the motor to work because that's his livelihood, that's it goes. That provides him any income that he gets, right? So how do we address this conundrum of a free service somewhere, of a paid service somewhere, and how do we make these two meet and make it sustainable? A challenge for us.
Yeah. Also, this example which you showed from Karnataka, right? I mean, for the rainwater harvesting policy which came in and generated good quantum of jobs in rural area. Do we imagine, I mean, I can't really imagine such quantum of jobs coming in because of water. So do you, I was speaking to someone else today, and they were saying that per village, even if we have 3 people like the Asha that you showed, who have this integrated knowledge about water security, connection with irrigation, connection with farming techniques, that would be really helpful for the village. Do you have any opinion on that? That what kind of such water card would be there?
Yeah, so obviously, yes, that's crucial. But let's deconstruct some of the places where the money is actually going. How is a borewell identified in a village? There's somebody with a coconut or a wise fork who goes around and marks a point and then goes away. Now, that person sometimes is paid 5,000 rupees for a borewell. That's the kind of faith and trust people have in that borewell identification. Success or failure is never guaranteed, but 5,000 is paid to it. A Bhojal Jankar can do that very same job with a great deal more science. Perhaps he'll have to carry a coconut just for the perception point of view, but from a geological point of view and a scientific point of view, he'll be able to better understand where a borewell should be drilled. The Bhojal Jankar can then provide the value-added knowledge as to how much water a farmer should be using based on the aquifer characteristic, what crops he should grow or how he should manage with drip irrigation or other things, and then at least capture that 5,000 rupees, which is now going to the coconut wala, right? So that's one aspect of it. We have to drive our knowledge systems into community action and individual action, however suboptimal it may be, through science and through capturing what existing practices are and substituting it with scientific knowledge. That's the way we'll have to think.
Is the community ready for that?
Well, there are young entrepreneurs who are now doing a borewell video, right? So I know of young people who just have a laptop and a webcam, which can go 900 feet, right? And he puts the webcam down 900 feet and does an autopsy or an understanding of the borewell. Where are the fissures from where water is coming? What's happening to the pump? How can you bring back that borewell to life? What should be done, right? And then for 1,500 rupees or 1,000 rupees, he gives the farmer a CD. And the farmer is willing to pay for that service because he realizes that there's a value in that service. And with that understanding, he's better able to utilize the asset that he has sunk a lot of money into, right? There are other very innovative young entrepreneurs here who, when they listen to a borewell, feel and hear water coming from the top fissure, falling down, making a large sound, and then disappearing in the bottom cavern, right? So these entrepreneurs lower a volleyball bladder at about a particular level, 200 feet, 250 feet, when the first fissure water is to be held, put air into the volleyball bladder, and then pour white cement and seal off the borewell from its 900 feet depth to 200, 250 feet depth, so that the farmer gets the first fissure water. And the first fissure water can be easily recharged through recharge structures, right? And the farmer is willing to pay for the service because he gets a value addition and a benefit. Now, once young entrepreneurs establish trust with farmers, when the good news spreads, when one farmer says, look, I benefited from it, then the other farmer says, okay, let me try it. And that ecosystem creates. But in our hydrogeological tests or in our learnings, we don't learn about volleyball bladders being put into borewells. We hardly hear about borewell scanning, large groups do it, but young villagers are doing it, right? So we should be able to spot these talents and scale them up, equip them with more knowledge, more skills, create a cadre of this so that the farmer is serviced, and then it should be expanded. It would be very valuable for the government borewells. How long will they last? What is the quality of the water? Does it have fluoride, nitrate in it or not? How can we track it regular, real time, so that knowledge is there for the administrators to make sure that good quality water is being supplied? All these are potential avenues for investment in the future.
That's so interesting. But how, so we've gone to one village in Bihar and Bhagalpur district. Now there is a certain, on two sides, there's an infrastructure where there is two private bore, which the government boring, which has been done, and there's infrastructure on one side and not on the other side. And the only job which has been created is only of a pump operator. And it's not that, and people are not even using that piped water which has been given. Everybody continues to do their own boring in their houses. So my larger question is also, is sustainable water management really the imperative right now at the village level? Is there a view of seeing it from jobs? Because like I'm saying, the only job it created was one pump operator. The contractor was from the city who had come and given the infrastructure. Nobody's thinking of O&M of even the piped infrastructure which has come. Individually, yes, everybody has their own boring, but that's about it. There's no plumber in the village. There is no thought also towards this.
So the delivery of piped water supply to every house, 55 liters per capita per day, is really one of the best gender moves that can ever occur. It helps women no end. And the benefits of getting a clean water, arsenic-free water, fluoride-free water, water which has to be hauled otherwise, the time spent, energy spent, all that dissipates if the JJM works, right? So if people, even at the initial stage, get hooked to this water, make sure that this water is their right and demand and put pressure on the system for it to be working, for O&M working, that is the only advocacy that will be needed from the people to put pressure on the system for delivery of water. So we can hope for that. But putting the pressure is one thing. Having the capacity and the capabilities of fixing the system, making sure it operates is another thing, right? So we'll have to look at the particular context and make sure that that capacity also exists in the village, like Asha that I showed you, that she's there in the village to make sure that the system works because people are demanding individual water, tap water in their homes, right? There will be several missteps when you run large programs like the Jal Jeevan Mission or the Swachh Bharat Mission. There will be suboptimal investments because we're taking one template fits all and trying to ram it through. I'm sure that these are inefficiencies which have to be pardoned in the cause of what they hope to deliver and what they will promise to deliver, and the learnings we will learn from it, right? We had in the past, in the 80s and 90s, a lot of slip back villages where borewells with hand pumps would be dug, but the hand pump would go dry. And so again, you had to make a reinvestment in it. So we must learn from those slip back habitations of the past. We must make sure that we get a real-time advanced information where systems are not working or where there's a problem. And we should have a dynamic method of approaching it and sorting it out based on the knowledge that is provided from that particular village in Bihar, right? So that particular village will give you a particular set of problems and a particular way of solving it. We'll have to be flexible with all those solutions, but we'll have to work with it. And this is not going to be easy.
It doesn't sound easy at all. I mean, they're supposed to have these technical implementing agencies which are supposed to help each village in doing this. Either it's Atal Bhujal or ODF++ and looking at Jal Jeevan together. But again, I mean, I'm quite amazed or daunted by the task at hand in terms of, how many villages we have and how would we actually get this solution going.
So there's a great dearth of skilled designers of systems. Even pipe water supply, it's not an easy thing to design, right? And if the source is groundwater, or as we call it in Karnataka, sometimes multi-village schemes where water source is a river and water has to be pumped 10, 12, 20 kilometers sometimes, 24 kilometers sometimes. It's not an easy system to design. The pressures that are created, do we design it for 24/7? How do we make sure that only 55 LPCD or a minimum of 55 LPCD is reached? How do we make sure that there is equal pressure between high areas, low areas? These are great challenges before designers themselves. Then there is the contractor, right? So then the set of contractors who are capable of delivering good quality jobs is also limited in India. That's also a skill set that needs to be built up. Then there is the O&M, right? The operations and maintenance. So all of the ecosystem needs a lot of support, right from designing to contracting to implementation to O&M. Tough job. We'll have to be patching up and doing jugaad and making repairs go in the future. But if we are prepared for it a bit more with good skill sets in the villages, it will get done easier. If we are not prepared, then we'll have to struggle through it after some time.
And on the question of, like you showed about reviving the traditional skill of well building, or the Neerkantis, which are very popular in Karnataka and not so much in other states, maybe some in Uttarakhand who are also water managers. It's positive to see that these traditional skill sets are being integrated in the policy level or in the planning level somehow. What recommendations can you give for that, that other states can also learn from this lesson? Because I'm sure there are traditional knowledges that exist.
So there are some of the negative aspects of caste knowledge and community-based knowledge, which we should be aware of. And it's not that the Neerkanti is an ideal power structure or an ideal equation to work with. But recognizing that, we must also recognize the knowledge that they bring, right? And the skill set that they bring. How do we tap into that skill set without the inadequacies of caste operations and the kind of payments that we need that occur with it, right? So we'll have to transcend that with modern knowledge and modern systems. And that will happen when politically Gram Panchayats are more awake and more aware of what needs to be done. But we should not lose out on the well-digger skills. We should not lose out on the Neeruganti skills. And therefore, we should keep our eyes open to local knowledge, to livelihood-based knowledge. Perhaps there's a skill upgradation needed there. Perhaps we need to work with the fisher to figure out what a water hyacinth is and what is the season to remove the water hyacinth. Right? It's in April, May that you should remove it quickly because otherwise it proliferates in that. So some modern knowledge, some scientific knowledge which goes with traditional skills and traditional learning, and to create a great deal more respect for the knowledge that these people bring. Sometimes we suffer from the disease of solutionism. We think that solutions come from designers or people in the city, but most solutions which are sustainable will come from those who have a feel for what the pain is, where the pain point is. So we'll have to develop a culture of respecting and understanding and working with it.
Right? That's so true. Just going back on this point, so there is, for example, there's skill development councils which exist in our country, and we have the skill development mission, and they're typical job roles within it, right? So a plumber is a plumber, needs to know XYZ. At the village level, I remember when I was there that we were trying to create a multi-skilled cadre for water. So a little bit of plumbing, little bit of masonry, little bit of something. So it becomes like one-man O&M guy. But I think what comes out is that you can't come with a top-down approach on what skill set is required in the village. So it needs a complete reversal in some sense.
So many of the skills that are relevant in our villages comes from apprenticeship, right? So people learn under a larger trainer, master trainer, you may call it, and you build up the skills over years, right? It's not, somehow we think that a package of 14 days or 10 days or 7 days or whatever is the package will be able to translate that knowledge with a lot of PowerPoint and a lot of text material, right? So andragogy, pedagogy is a big challenge in the education sector itself, right? We are not able to get our acts right. We constantly debate what our school children should be taught, what our college-going students should be taught, what should be the blue collar and the white collar skill set. And of course, in this particular domain of water and land and agriculture, it's not easy to transfer this knowledge. We'll have to create where the initial skill set is just to trigger interest, then to select those who continue to remain interested and build their capacity to be able to engage and make a better living out of it and a better job out of it, right? So, yeah, the whole training itself will have to be reimagined. the skill council will have to keep self-reflecting and developing better tools, better techniques of training and working.
Yeah. How about traditionally this happened? Like you're saying that, we do know that there were traditional knowledge, probably past generation to generation. Who was managing water in rural area? Whose responsibility is it to ensure that it remains, or who's managing traditional structures?
Well, not that all was hunky-dory. There was many traditional structures which fell into disrepair, many wells which are derelict, which are not working. The bore well and the hand pump actually was the savior during times of drought and famine. So modern technology brought with it many savings and many benefits that it needed. And as part of our times, the traditional structures may not necessarily be fully relevant. They may be supplements, right? So we'll have to deal with it as a supplement. But we stopped talking about it. We stopped engaging with it. I remember that in Karnataka, there was a World Bank aided program called the Jal Samvardhana Yojana, JSYS it was called, and about 3,800 tanks were rehabilitated under that scheme, about 650 crores with the government of Karnataka actively participating. During that time, thanks to some good officers who led the project at that point of time, there was a lot of emphasis on tank user groups, involving people who do not have land as part of the tank user group, involving every community in the village as part of it. And then within that, talking to the village themselves and saying, who amongst you has the best knowledge of its management? And how do you make sure that that knowledge is used by the tank users group to manage it? In my opinion, it was a tremendous success. It took 5 years of hard work to get that done. Unfortunately, like with many government programs, our staying power stops after 5 years. We need to work on a 20-25 year skill range if we want to leave it shashwat, as they call it in Hindi, right? So that staying stamina power, this empowering of local communities, of local skill knowledge, making sure the community itself respects the local knowledge that people bring and rewarding it with adequate financial remuneration so that it's acknowledged as a service that is being provided to the community. These are all carefully crafted works which have to be done a lot more holistically than we are trying to do it now.
Yeah, in rural areas, it becomes even more challenging. People migrate. Who takes the responsibility?
Well, yeah, so that's absolutely true. The young people are migrating in search of work, then moving to urban areas, or in Bihar, they move to Punjab for agricultural work and all that. But in the same Bihar, a friend of mine, Eklavya Prasad by name, who works with the Make Pain Abhiyan, he tells me of the local knowledge they bring, that where they take a glass of water from a well and crush guava leaves and put it into it. And if it goes black, they know that it's iron in the water, right? So this is a local test which a local person has figured out, and it's local knowledge and it's there. Now we could spend a lifetime taking the water to a lab and doing testing of that, or we could use field testing kits and all that, but we could also use guava leaves, right? So if we are able to find the equivalent for arsenic and for fluoride, let's say, for example, it could be lifesavers. So it's a question of engaging. And like I said, one of the narratives in the villages that we need to build, and even in cities, is respect for these people who bring this knowledge and their inclusion as part of the solution space. This calls for a tremendous humility amongst the professors and other experts like me when we go down to the village to say, we will listen, we will work, we will improve, and we'll do that together. Failure is quickly transferred to somebody else and credit is quickly taken by somebody else. That shift should be managed better, and then we should shine the spotlight on people who are doing the real good work.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe like we're saying of Bujal Jankars, if that is one word or common terminology which is coming, they could be taught to document this traditional knowledges also which exist.
Absolutely. Terminology is very important. Yogesh Jadeja and ACT who have done a wonderful work with Bujal Jankars, and Dr. Himanshu Kulkarni who works with barefoot hydrogeologists. There are now barefoot organic farmers, barefoot natural farmers. So bringing it's not only just about water, right? It's about water, soil, it's about livelihood, it's all about an ecosystem. These people, I'm sure over time will get more and more respect and their knowledge will come into play. We should do that in a democratic spirit in which the disempowered have more voice and that there is agency given to these people to be able to deliver better. That's what it is. For me, as a personal experience, Nidhi, what I see in the villages there, which I work in Kolar and Mulbagar, it is women and girls who have the biggest yearning for engagement and with knowledge generation. And it's that group which can be facilitated a lot. But even a simple small two-wheeler for a Gram Panchayat Mahila member would make such a difference to her mobility, to her reach for all the 8 villages that she's supposed to cover from a Gram Panchayat. Just by traveling, she gets more empowered. Like that, we'll have to find more and more avenues of empowering those who are really genuinely interested in the development of the village and make sure that they carry that knowledge and that legacy with agency.
Absolutely. In fact, just before talking to you, I was speaking to Yogesh Bhai only, and he gave us example of 3 women Gujjar Jankars that they taught. And they skilled, and he was saying each one of them, like one woman was equivalent to 10 Gujjar Jankars. So he's like, that much is the impact that I can say that they have. So great. And his experience of also saying that these Gujjar Jankars, apparently 16 youth, they trained at the block level, and they become consultants by themselves now. So they're giving their services to other organizations.
Yogesh Bhai has done something remarkable. And one very nice thing about Dr. Yogesh Jadeja is that he does his training in Gujarati. He does it in local language, and the whole curriculum of the Gujjar Jankars is in the local language. And that is so critical because it's not only the language, but the local knowledge that goes into the identification of the soils, rocks, the geology in the local terminology. We are an English literate audience, the way we are talking and discussing right now, but that form of knowledge creation, generation, transmission, and empowerment is simply fantastic. Yogesh Bhai is a gem that we have. Mm-hmm. And there are so many more.
No, absolutely. Yes, I mean, I think they're really the hope or putting the spark in this narrative that we're talking today, looking at water management and lives and livelihood from the real decentralized way. You know, I mean, we keep saying that groundwater has to be managed locally, but how does that happen? I think they're showing us the way.
So a lot of the larger corporations have also to answer the question of local sustainability. Let's say, for example, there's a global leader in pump manufacture, which makes pumps which can go deeper and deeper into borewells and yield out more and more output of water at lesser and lesser energy, right? So this is the energy efficient pumps, yeah. But what does the energy efficient pump do in a framework which does not respect or value water? It empties out the aquifer faster. What does that mean, therefore, to the pump manufacturer? That their share of the market collapses, right? It's in the interest of the borewell digger, it's in the interest of the pump manufacturer that the groundwaters of India should be alive and well and thriving, and the groundwater tables should be coming up for their market to expand, right? So how do we align the forces of large corporations, the bazaar? How do we align the forces, the policy paradigms and the legislative paradigms of the state, Sarkar? And how do we then bring the Samaj, the Bhujal Jankars, the community knowledge builders together so that Sarkar, Samaj and Bazaar work in tandem for uniform goals, right? So that framing of the problem, especially with groundwater, is how we need to work. Rajni Bakshi, Rohini Nilekani always talk about Samaj, Sarkar and Bazaar. It's a wonderful template. It's a wonderful way of imagining it. And it's a wonderful way of working and approaching it.
Right? I think that's the great way for you to sum it up also today about, you know, responding to this Bazaar, Samaj and Sarkar. And I think we need to be more vigilant to all of them and see how they can converge and create this water management that we'll be talking about.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Vishwanath, for all your time today. I know you're pretty stamped in time these days, but I hope everyone enjoys the conversation and you can also later have a look at it. We'll share with you. But it's been lovely to have you here today.
My pleasure, Nidhi. Let me just end by saying that NREGA also provides a great opportunity of tying up the Atal Bhujal Yojana, the Jal Jeevan Mission, and many of the other water schemes. And we should include these government programs with an architecture of knowledge, right? Of local knowledge, with an architecture of sustainability. If we do that architecture of knowledge and sustainability and tie together these large investments that are going into our rural areas, we'll be better off as a civilization and as a nation.
So in NREGA, did you find that, like, for example, in our research, we've not found that there's been of course, there are lots of works which has happened for water management, but are they informed works? You know, so are they coming with some batch knowledge on this is what you need to do?
So ideally, if you have a water security plan for the village or for the Gram Panchayat, and then you tie in the NREGA works to that water security plan, the plan being vetted by some knowledgeable people and made sure that it's perfect, and robust, then that would be fantastic, right? But otherwise, it now works piecemeal, depending on where the jobs are needed, what work should be done, and how it should be done. To the best extent in Karnataka, for example, a young IAS officer led a great charge and desilted many wells and many ponds and many water bodies. Anirudh Shravan Polipaka, he did tremendous good work there, right? So it's possible that if people are interested in the bureaucracy are interested, we may get very positive works with it, right? The asset creation is one component of it. How do we manage the asset and make sure that it delivers benefits? That's the second component of it. NREGA may not be able to address it immediately, but ownership by the Gram Panchayat of this assets created and their investment by the Gram Panchayat to make sure it works, that would be fantastic.
Yes, I think it offers a great window of opportunity for sure. And I think a lot has been done with it. But much more can be done. Yeah.
Swachh Bharat Mission, for all its drawbacks, for all its critiques and failures, was really transforming in terms of its vision. Now, if we make it work better, we're better off with it. Jal Jeevan Mission, fantastic vision. I really like the gender perspective of what Jal Jeevan and Swachh Bharat Mission together can bring, right? Yeah. And NREGA is there, of course, as the employment guarantee scheme, and then tying it all together with the land and livelihoods. When these large investments talk to each other more comprehensively at the Gram Panchayat level, the better punch they carry and the better benefits they can bring.
Absolutely. I mean, that convergence, and I think that goes back also to capacity building of the Gram Panchayat itself. I mean, it still goes back to the Panchayat system becoming much stronger and empowered to really take care of this.
So the challenge there is when you work with Gram Panchayat organization development, right? Building the skill set and capacities of the Gram Panchayat members. Unfortunately, in the next year of election, it may not be the same members, right? And then the seats may be reserved for different communities or different gender or whatever, and then continuity may be affected, right? So till a pool of talent is created in which that pool then continues to circulate and then provide the membership to it, or like people like Asha, who I showed, who contest for a Gram Panchayat with her knowledge, and she wins. She lost last time. But when people appreciate her knowledge and vote her to power, when these Bhujal Jankars come into these political power also, and then use that knowledge and that governance strength they have to take their knowledge further, that will bring the change, and that will happen.
Yeah, in fact, Vishwanath today was telling that one of them has become a sarpanch, one Bhujal Jankar. So I think that's a great change.
That's true. Right? Yeah. And people will realize, a lot of the smart ones realize that change will come only with political power. Yeah. So that knowledge can only take you so far, but if you really want to bring sustainable change, then you have to be in that the local decision-making places. And when more and more people occupy those spaces, then we will be the better off for it.
Yeah, I mean, water is also a political subject. I mean, like any other really. So
water is political, completely political. Absolutely.
Yeah. 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 Oh, great. I think so. This has been lovely for us, and I'm sure there's much more to discuss. But we'll just take a break right now, I think. And thank you so much for being with us. And like I said, this is an ongoing research. We'll love to connect with you again on this aspect of water management. And we, in fact, doing Karnataka as one of our states. So maybe probably love to discuss with you when we're down there.
It'll be my pleasure. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.